Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and proceed with the meeting. Welcome to the Town of Pendleton's October Planning Commission meeting. We do have one board member that's absent, Cheryl. We did give her a couple minutes there. She might come in. She has traffic trouble from time to time, but everyone else is present. I'd like to welcome our new member, Bob Jewell. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
So, if I could please have the board review the minutes as submitted and take a motion for approval or additions or corrections.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Jen. A motion second to accept the minutes as submitted. Everyone in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Amen. Okay. We're gonna change the agenda around a little bit. We have some housekeeping things on here. Couple things on the Unified Development Ordinance and street standards, which you folks are more than welcome to stay for, but they're very boring and very black and white. But we're going to move to new business, so the petitioners don't have to stay and hear all that. So
Yeah.
moving to new business, the first item on the agenda is Randy Perkins, 5938 and 6012 South 625 West, rezone from large lot agriculture A1 to rural residential RR for 2 existing home sites.
Okay, so this one is, like Tim said, located out on 625. Oh, did you need something?
I didn't know if Bob
Nothing
had
but
sworn
swear
in.
Bob in.
We already did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, thank you though,
No,
we're good.
no worries.
So 2 properties, out on 625, 136 acres total combined. The petitioner would like to, rezone some acreage to parcel off 2 existing houses, to be separate from the farmland. So right now, it's just used for farming, and then, like I said, the 2 houses there. You can go to the next slide, please, Steph. So they are looking to have about a 12 acre parcel at 5938, which is the northern parcel, and then approximately 17-ish acres on the southern parcel there, which is 6012. So basically, we cannot allow this to be parceled up into these individual home sites because the existing zoning requires a minimum lot size of 40 acres. So we would like to rezone approximately 30 acres, and then a condition of the rezone is that the petitioner parcels those off into 2 separate parcels with their own separate parcel ID. So it's basically just kind of cutting off the home sites into their own proper zoning and parcels. So since it's an administerial plat, it won't come before this board, but you will be responsible for the zoning, because we can't cut it up at 40 acres unless they wanted to, but they don't.
Okay.
So the petitioner is here, and Denise and I are here to answer any questions you might have on this, or we can go into staff analysis.
So tell me again.
Proceed with that, Annie.
Well,
So if you
so
have any
we've got
questions.
2 parcels and then we're gonna end up with 4. Is that,
So it's one split of each parcel. Yes.
okay? And where the yellow is gonna.
Yes. Yeah, so the northern one's gonna be about 12-ish acres of rural res, and then the southern one will be about 17 acres of rural res.
And
And the rest will remain,
remain ag.
yes,
Okay.
because it's,
And you can't use any of the exemptions in the UDO to split it?
we can use the exemptions to split it, but not to rezone it. So if we were to split it at 40 acres, it would be, we wouldn't have to come before this board.
Okay.
But it has to meet the minimum zoning lot size for us to administerially split it.
Okay.
So once it's rezoned, then we can split each parcel into those 12 and 17 acres.
Just with like a survey or legal.
Mhm,
description.
yep, survey, yep,
So
which they already
no-
have.
No plat is required then.
Unless that's how they want to record it at the county, they have the option of doing one or the other.
Okay.
And that's between them and their surveyor.
Okay.
And then we.
That's your question, Carol.
Yeah.
Jen? right?
No.
Anything from the petitioner or the owner?
Did you? No. Did I cover it for you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
That's you, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right.
All right,
You
so-
want to go in now?
Sure, yeah.
I got a question. So it's just gonna be two parcels with a house on each part?
Mhm. Yep.
They're just gonna have a big yard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's simplified. I mean, I'm a simple man.
Yeah, any further development would require additional steps or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, since these already have two existing primary structures, I mean, they can build accessory structures or accessory dwelling units or things like that. Cause the biggest thing for this is they didn't want to cut off two 40-acre chunks. And then the other part, what I had concern with without rezoning it was if they wanted to do an addition to the house or something like that. A1 and A2 don't allow residential uses by right, because they're mostly just for farming only parcels. But we do have some where the house isn't split off into its own zoning designation. I mean, these are very old lots, so it makes sense, but no, they'd have to go through a process to do that.
And so the new residual will be the new zoning, or just the house lot will be the new zoning?
No, the whole.
Everything?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. So it'll be one parcel, like I said, on the south, 17 acres of RR, and then 12 acres on the north of RR.
But
But-
then again, the other part will still be.
Oh, yeah, it'll
A1.
stay.
The large
A1.
remainder will be A1.
Yes, we're only
Okay.
rezoning a total allotment of 30 acres.
Okay.
There'll be a little bit of a shift of the northern parcel where the northern and southern parcels touch. There's an easement there for like sewer to the house to the south. But Keith Van Wienen is real.
So he's just gonna
what
adjust
You need
it,
to kind of
yeah.
adjust it accordingly in the
setbacks to
survey
that.
for when it goes to
Yeah.
recording. So, yeah.
Okay, so the function of planning staff is to analyze the petition against our comp plan, our other approved and relevant plans and ordinances, as well as existing conditions or variances placed on the site to present facts and analysis. So based on that, we have the following comments. The rezone does not pose any hazards to public health, safety, or welfare. This is to, like I have been talking about, a more appropriate zoning district, considering there's house sites in here and they've been there since at least the 50s. That's what I can find on the property records. There is RR in the surrounding area as well. But there is one condition that I would recommend that we've already discussed with the petitioner is we need some right-of-way dedication. So they could have the surveyor just redraw it to show a right-of-way designation on the survey. So we need 40 feet. We need a half right-of-way on the northern parcel. And then since the southern parcel goes over 625, it's one large parcel over top of it and encompasses the road. We need 80 feet, so 40 on either side of the roadway. Because 625 is a collector designation in our thoroughfare plan. Which, like I said, we've already discussed. It's no issue with setbacks. It doesn't change anything on the site as far as impervious surface coverage or side, rear, or front setbacks, anything like that. So we just need the right of way dedicated there.
So if you're just doing a survey, then it would need to be deeded
Mhm.
and accepted by the town. If you're gonna plat it, then you could plat the right of way. So we just make sure that's
Yeah.
whichever way. they
Yeah,
go.
and we have a right of way dedication form, or we have kind of used in random chunks where it's not like a whole subdivision plat. We're just taking some extra right of way.
Yeah, if you just have the surveyor create a description for it, then you can use
Mm-hmm.
that on the document.
Yeah. So we'll do that. So that's all I have with analysis.
So once it's rural residential, then what additional, you talked a little bit about additional buildings that could be placed on that property then?
Yeah, if they wanted to do a room addition or an accessory structure, an accessory dwelling unit, something like that. That's all possible and potential if that's something they want to do.
Most of that southern looks like it's wooded
And lots of it's in the floodway too.
and in the floodway.
So you have to have kind of a minimum buildable area, which this still meets regardless of that, but a large chunk of it is in a flood area
And a large pipeline.
and a large pipeline.
Jen? Brad?
No questions.
Any more questions on Lynn?
I couldn't see the picture when you brought it back up. Does Foster's Branch run to either of those lots? Or
Goes
is
through
it
the,
outside of it?
goes through the southern one there, Lynn, this.
I think it's
that's where the
slightly on the
625
north
is.
one.
Yeah.
It's in the
that's-
woods.
It's just right at the 625 white.
okay. So there'd be a 75-foot right of way on either side of it too.
Yeah, that's all in the floodplain down there. That
Okay.
Yeah,
Foster's
that
Ranch runs,
floodplain goes pretty much out to the edge of the woods. It's pretty extensive. Yeah,
So that would be a floodplain overlay. Technically.
some of it's floodway, some of it's floodplain. So some of it's.
that runs the full length of Foster's Branch there parallel to it. More questions or comments from anybody? Board? I entertain a motion to approve 22-024-01 with the recommendations from the staff on the right of way. The right of way recording.
I'll second.
Need a motion first.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Brad. Don, take the second, Carol.
second.
All right. All those in favor of 22-024-1 as submitted and with the recommendations from staff on the right of way recording, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Motion carried, sir. Thank you. Okay. Second item on the new business tonight is Prith LLC of Heritage Way at Henderson Way. Commercial primary plat.
So this is a primary plat for a approximately 12-acre parcel on the corner of Henderson Way and Heritage Way South. It is currently zoned general business and it's used for seasonal farming. So the petitioner has submitted a primary plat to, you can go to the next slide, thank you. To split this property into 5 parcels with a roadway access road that runs through it. It'll be a 60-foot right of way. Our street standards apply to both private and public roads. As far as we're aware, the petitioner would like to keep this a private road that's maintained by a commercial HOA or COA, I guess. Lots 1 and 2, which are up against Henderson Way, will have a shared driveway on Legacy Drive South, which is that private road. And then lots 3 and 5 will also, and 4 and 5, they'll have their own as well. And then 3 and 5, which is the easternmost and the southeastern parcel, will have cross access easement. We're big on sharing driveways and having parking lot connections, so we don't have roads riddled with driveway access cuts. So there will be none allowed on Henderson or Heritage, short of the Legacy Drive roadway. All these lots are adequate size per our general business zoning standards, as well as the setbacks on each one. This one will be, as far as the uses and the site development itself, will be under our new corridor overlay. So anything within that, as far as the site layout, the architecture, the landscaping, will all have to follow that. But primary plating is really just kind of a general layout of the site. And then with commercial plats, it gives the subdivider, same as what we did with Colcarney, where they can develop by blocks, or they can just go site by site. They have the option to do that, so they can have end user flexibility. But if there is a master plan for the site, they can also just develop it as a block. They're welcome to do either. So the perimeter buffer is only required on the west and southern halves of this because it is kind of a double frontage with Henderson and Heritage Way. They're adequate as far as we can analyze, especially with the uses existing. There's a few vacant lots on that west side. And then also to the south, but, the ones that need heavier buffering are going to be existing. So that's just the perimeter. Now, the ones in between the lots is gonna depend on what gets built there. And that'll determine which number buffer you need. And then we're also getting a right-of-way dedication on Henderson Way of 33.5 feet. We only require 30 because it's a half right-of-way to the south. Henderson is a local road and our right-of-way is 60 feet wide for that. So that's really all I have for that. The petitioner and their team is here to answer any questions, as well as myself and Denise. If you have any questions on this. But it's kind of just breaking up the site so it can be developed a little easier.
Okay. Mike, you wanna go ahead?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just for the record, I'm Mike Austin and I'm an attorney in Anderson, Indiana, and Brock Hagerman, who has some Pendleton connections, and I represent the petitioner. So petitioners are here. There are two representatives, and that is Rakesh and Parish from Pritha LLC is the LLC that's the actual developer. We also have the engineer David Huffman here as well. So they're prepared to respond to any questions you might have about the project. So we have gone through the preliminaries, filing fee paid, the newspaper notice published by staff. We handled the certified mail notices and filed the affidavit to certify that those were sent out. Did have a chance to meet with Denise and Hannah Rose and Scott Bresky about this, and they were great to work with. Very courteous, very professional. So we really appreciated their time and attention and have responded to a lot of their comments at this point. So this is called the primary plat for Heritage Hub at Falls Point Business Park. So that's quite a mouthful. But it looks like it's going to be a great project for Pendleton. We've got some real good developers and an engineer who's done some excellent work on this project. So they can respond to any specific questions, and want to thank the town for their response to this project so far, and the help they've provided. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, Brad, sorry, any questions?
No questions.
No.
The only thing I saw, they're showing the water quality units in the back, so when they do the development plan, just make sure you get to those later.
Okay.
Those aqua swirls, the one along Heritage looks fine, but you know, if that whole southern end gets developed all in one piece, you want to make sure you can get a back truck to those for maintenance. That's all.
Okay.
Jim,
I don't have any questions.
Carol,
Do you have any ideas on what types of businesses you're looking for? You want to share?
Yeah. What we do, so on the two lots in the back, we are going to bring lodging facilities, so hotels, select service hotels. We are approved by Marriott to bring Fairfield there. And the front lots would be for retail, so restaurant or strip center of some sort is what we are looking to get on the front lots.
So you're saying 4 or 5 would be the hotel?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, 4 and 5.
4
would
and
be
5
hotel.
both?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the original layout of this had the roadway shifted a little bit, but there's that ginormous gas line easement on the whole entire western portion of this
Mhm.
property. So we figured it was better to put the road there because you can't use it for anything else. And that way the alignment and the size of the lots also got a little bit bigger, so you could support a little bit larger commercial or retail or restaurant there as opposed to the smaller layout with the lots being part of the easement.
And then again, the only 2 entryways into those are the 2 cuts there on Henderson.
Correct, yes,
Way.
there will be no cuts on directly into lots
Mhm.
from Heritage or Henderson.
But there'll be a walking path.
Yes, so there'll be a 10-foot trail on the eastern border of the property, north to south from Henderson down to the southeastern edge of the property. And then throughout on Legacy Drive will be sidewalks on either side, except on the western part where the gas easement is. That's where the landscape buffer will go. And then also along Henderson Way on the south side there. So there's already a sidewalk on the north side of Henderson from Starbucks and the bank. It'll kind of just match that.
Bob?
No questions at this time?
All right, thank you. Any comments from the audience? Touching homeowners, property owners? Lynn? Okay,
Anybody online?
anybody online?
Who is close by, like the blue back on that picture with the colors?
So
It'll
we
be
own the
Tyler
water
Trust.
tower to the south and
Okay.
then the Hamilton Station Apartments, the
Mhm.
daycare, an empty lot and the BK Lounge,
Okay,
which is abandoned, so.
yeah, okay, I was thinking
BK Lounge.
that.
Burger King. Yes.
Wow.
That would, okay. I'm showing my age here.
Fast food or lounges now.
Hearing no further questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to accept 22-024.
You want me to do my my
Yeah.
analysis?
I thought you did.
Did I? I don't think you did.
You did?
No.
Hannah, would you like to do your analysis?
Yes, please, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so like I said, our position is to analyze petitions based on facts and analysis and our code, so the plat has reasonable water, electric, sanitary utilities on site or nearby for hook-in. The plat does not pose any hazards to public health, safety, or welfare. And then the general layout fits the requirements of our platting within the ordinance as well as the requirements for general business. So now I'm done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You don't have to get that on the record, come on.
Now, what's the thought? Now I'll entertain a motion to accept or add to 22-024-02 as presented and noted tonight.
I'll make a motion that we accept as presented with the notations that Mr. Icorn made with regards to accessibility
Water units.
for maintenance and support of the water units on the back.
Thank you, Brad. That's noted. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Jim. All those in favor of 22-024-02, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Motion passed.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Take a quick 5-minute recess. Let's restart back in session, please.
All right, so do you want to do the
Let's
access
do
management?
access management control ordinance first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so from our last meeting, and this is in your G Drive in its own little Excel document. So I got some feedback from you from the last meeting. So starting with number one, we have one-way driveways. There was no maximum width for a one-way drive. And I did a lot of research, and the largest I found recommended for your typical commercial is no more than 25. But it was still pretty, there's not a lot. A lot of people just say the minimum of 16. It's kind of all around this area. It seems to be a pretty common thing, but I think it's good to put a maximum. So I suggested between 23 and 25. I think if a petitioner needs more than that, depending on the movements going in and out of the site, they can seek a variance. If we want to stick on the small side with 23, I think that's fine too. But almost like anything else in our UDO with this access management ordinance, if we find we're getting a repeated number of things to BZA, we can always update the ordinance to be more flexible. If we're noticing everybody needs 25 feet, they can't do much without it, or I don't know, large truck delivery or something like that. So that's just what I found. I didn't really find much bigger than that, except for like large industrial one-way driveways were 40 feet wide for like large tanker truck type things. I don't think we need to go that high. So that's just my opinion. Because right now it reads that you can have a infinite size of driveway.
Frontage.
The whole frontage if you want it. We don't want that.
25 is fine. They can always ask for more.
Okay, that works for me.
Okay.
Brad, any thoughts on that? Good, okay, all right, I will change that to maximum of 25. The other thing on one-way drives is we had no separation requirements, and those I can't find it. That's just not a thing, which seems kind of weird because you can have kind of two styles of one-way drive accesses, right? You have one here and one here. It's very clear which is the exit, which is the entrance. Or you have this kind of condensed either by, if there's a lane in the middle or a median or a pork chop or something. So you just have in and out, you know? But I can't find anything standard wise. So maybe this is something we just leave as it is. And if we start to get issues or concerns with sites using one ways, especially I think so on some of our developments actually in this area we were just looking at, because we have a lot of double, triple, and sometimes quadruple frontage lots. And people might use those, like with the gas station, they're utilizing one-way driveways. So I just can't find anything, but if it becomes an issue, I want to make sure that we keep it in the back burner. Unless you have a suggestion, which I'm open to.
I mean, the thing I would look at is we have the two one-way drives for the 38 entrance into Needler's Plaza out there. I don't know how many times I've seen vehicles go in the wrong entry. Because I don't think that there is good separation between one way in and one way out.
Yeah, is that the one by the new car wash going in? Is that the one you're talking about?
It's on the
Yeah,
Windy
side,
side.
yeah.
by Wendy's.
Oh, the windy side. Oh,
Yeah.
I think the problem, part of the problem is the one way is so wide.
right,
looks
yeah, it
like-
looks like
It
it,
tricks you.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have arrows left and right.
Better
Yeah.
signage or paint.
Yeah.
something or-
So that's true. That's,
So that's another reason to not, to have a maximum.
yeah.
Or
I don't
even
know what that.
arrows on the.
Well,
island
and I
pavement
mean,
or
we,
Something.
if they maintain that as, you know,
Well, that's
on
true
them.
too,
I
yeah.
think that we might have in a street standard somewhere, you'd have to have signage, but if it's your property, it's kind of your insurance purview if you choose to do that or not.
And I think there you're exiting and entering back onto a former state highway.
Mhm.
So I think part of that width is so you have a left turn capability as well as a right
Yeah.
turn capability
It
to
needs to
come
be
back to
striped,
town.
it would be less-
Yeah,
And it's just not set up properly
No.
for
no,
incoming cars to know they
right,
aren't entering basically the left turn lane.
right,
Yeah.
yes.
That is state highway.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true in that particular case, but that's what I don't want to happen
Yeah.
again somewhere, because we don't have anything that directs people how to design it. I mean, I would hope that any good engineer or designer would be able to recognize that, but I mean, that one got put in that way and it's not real great. So,
Well, who would be reviewing it that could say that looks, that's not work? I mean, that's what.
well, I mean, really, I think it would just be us. Denise and I would take a look at that, you know,
Yeah.
and our staff, all departments review it as well, including the street department. So if there's something.
It's just that we wouldn't have anything that would force them to make that change. You'd have to.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
could
Just make
we,
a strong
Only just that
suggestion.
little sentence in there says should be clearly striped and marked.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
that
and,
on one ways, yeah.
and wouldn't that be up to then the staff's review,
Yeah,
something
somewhere.
in
I
there?
think when you get it to something like per staff or planning commission purview, if there's no set of standards to judge it against, that's where it gets lost in
yeah.
litigation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So you have to kind of, like with our rezones or primary plats, we have a set of bullet points that we judge something against,
Mhm.
instead of just saying, well, if we think it's good for the
Yeah.
project, you
Yeah.
know, something like
Yeah.
that. So, but what I will add in here, to number one is I will put that it must be clearly striped and marked for enter exiting.
So it's appropriate signage for both entry as well as exits, and then appropriate striping for lane designations.
Yep, okay, I can do that. So I will keep number two kind of on my watch list if we run into any issues with it. Okay, and then we had talked about medians. The maximum driveway median for an entrance feature is 10 feet. It's 4 to 10 feet. I measured some kind of around, and there's some that are like up to like 36. I don't know if we necessarily need something that grand. But I said 20. 20 seems like a good number that I found in other places. I looked at the new development going on in Fort Bend area and Lawrence. They have a ton of like greenery and bioswales and bump outs and stuff. So that was a pretty good judgment, I think, since most of their entrance features to that area. And then I looked in Carmel and Fishers and places like that. So I think 20 feet is probably good if they want to do that, up to 20 feet. Kind of a grand boulevard.
And if they have a plan for something bigger, they can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything they can't fit, they can
Yeah.
come in and ask for
Yeah.
larger amount. So,
Okay.
so if that's okay with everyone, I'll do it to up to 20. Medians, again, for landscaping purposes. So we removed the ability to only have just a paved median. And so remember, these are the 4 to now 20-foot wide medians. I'd like to add to the definition that these will be planted. Right now it just says landscaped, but planted with native salt tolerant species that are a mix of free of at least the following here. So I kind of put all sorts of plants in there. Any small breed tree, as long as it doesn't cause a line of sight issue. We do have a caveat in the code already that says any signage in those medians can't cause a line of sight issue. So it's kind of the same thing. And then the other thing I'd like to add is, and we can make this lower or higher, is minimum of 65% of the median must be planted, because what I don't want is a dirt mulch median with one bush in it, because it doesn't look cute. So,
Nor do they maintain them.
no, they won't. Now, hardscape, like rocks and
Mhm.
beach pebbles and things like that is fine as long as there is planting within it. Like if you'd rather do rocks over mulch, like that's fine. But I think there needs to be a minimum so we don't just have a single bush.
Mhm.
So is 65 a good number? Should we do 75, 50?
Well, we don't want it getting too close to the edge. I mean, I think we
Right,
need to have.
right.
So,
But there's a lot of, I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many creative ways to
Yeah.
plant those things where you have your smaller, annuals and things like that near the curbing, because
curbing,
these all
yeah.
have to be curbed
yeah,
with a 6 to 8 inch concrete curb. So,
Mhm.
and then in your middle, you have more of your like hedges and things
Yeah.
like that. So, but
It's good.
I think it's
65,
good,
okay,
yeah.
that I'd kind of just looking at other things, I was like, well, some of that's mulch, some of that's planting, about
So
65
that's like
seems good.
2/3.
A little over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a little over half. Okay. All right, I'll add that to the definition section.
Do
Oh.
we have like a plant list that you choose from?
We have a street tree list, and then we do not have a list of recommended native shrubs and flowers. No, just street tree stuff.
Okay.
So
Should we add the recommended native species to the document?
we have it referenced. We can utilize it that way, so we don't
So
have
it
to,
is cross-referenced
yeah, we don't have
to an
to.
external document? Okay.
So you can't do all Bradford pears, right?
No. You can do no Bradford
I
pears.
just spent $650 getting rid of one
Yes.
that should have
yes.
never been planted.
Yes. And we're covered on that. We have a lot of documents like that that crisscross reference, so we're,
I know some of them is chainsaw.
right. He needs a reason to use it. But typically when someone brings a planting schedule in, Denise will look over it and compare it to Indiana natives and things like that and make sure. And then we also are capped out on maples, so we don't allow those planting anymore. And then a lot of times we've had issue with people coming in with large breed trees in parking lot islands, not maybe realizing that those can grow and really rip up their parking lot. So she does an excellent job of recommending small breed trees.
And then I think we have an invasive list.
We do,
correct?
yes, we
Yeah.
definitely check it against the invasive list. Okay, so I will add that, and then 2 more, 5 and 6 are basically kind of just, 2 paragraphs that I missed last time when we went through applicability, to where the code is applicable to primary plats, secondary plats, site plans, building permits, even. Again, we had some need to clarify some things in there. We understood it, but it was just good to kind of spell everything out in that document very clearly. So number 5 is adding the subdivision plat to applicability section 1.2-B, and then adding right in the next section of 1.2C, subdivision plat and building permit. This document was kind of tailored to primary platting and site plan review, and the way that the language was really written, instead of just being a really all-encompassing flat-out document. So that's why we wanted to just clarify this extra stuff that this document covers, even though inherently it's any and all development that happens here. So,
So does 1.2B have all that in it except that bold part right there?
yes,
And you're
correct.
just
Sorry.
inserting
Yeah,
that.
the non-bold is what we already have in there.
Gotcha.
So that's just where I want to add that extra verbiage. So I caught most of them last time where this list needed to go, but I didn't catch them all. So any questions on either of those two, just adding where this document is applicable, when it's used by planning commission, when it's used by planning staff. Okay, all right. All right, so then what we would look for is a motion to approve the amendments as discussed and amended with the exception of nothing on 2, we would strike number 2.
Do I have a motion to approve the access management control ordinance as discussed with striking number 2? And the additions and corrections as noted.
So moved.
Second,
I second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay,
Next, I believe I have a street standard for you. This was something Scott Reski asked Banning and myself to work on to create kind of an interim street standard for when we take over county roads, or, well, they're old county roads, I suppose you could say, where properties, just like the Perkins property, goes over or touches the center line. So when we get right of way dedicated, and we go to improve that road, it's not quite ready or we don't have a funding mechanism to put in all the storm infrastructure, because all of our street standards call for curbing, which means you have to have storm infrastructure. So this is kind of a in-between build up to then when we have the ability to put in curbing and storm structures as opposed to sheet drainage.
So is this something that the town would improve, or is a developer going to be able to?
I think this is mostly for the town.
Okay.
Because in all of our new subdivisions, whether commercial or residential, you would not be able to use this. What I'm thinking is that if there is like something like 600, where we're going to improve the roadway, but eventually know that that road might become more of a collector boulevard type of thing. As it continues down, because eventually there will be a road on the Gaines property, you know, like that's kind of my example of why I think we needed something like this. But I think it's gonna be mostly for the town. But
What's the SDGLSW? Are those defined anywhere? I mean, I can guess, but
yes, I thought I had put it in
shoulder drainage, grass lawn and
Grass
sidewalk.
lawn.
Yep.
That should be on there somewhere maybe. but-
It should be,
Yeah, it's
shouldn't
not.
it?
And it
Did
says
I
that,
really not put that in
and
there?
it says the street section, so the town engineer / consultant will review, because there's no cross section of the, you know, how much subgrade and how much pavement.
Yes,
So
yes.
that'll be,
There's no cross section of the pavement design.
No.
so it'll be
it's not.
site specific.
Mhm.
And like, is it full reconstruction or mill and overlay? That'll be
Right.
all site specific.
Yes, yes. And if this is something that you want me to get some feedback from Scott on, I'm happy to do that. But I think it was the biggest thing for him was that some areas we don't have the ability to put in proper storm infrastructure yet because of where they're located, or it's too price prohibitive. So this is kind of an in-between until we can get there. So that's how I understood it, and surprisingly enough, he didn't mark this up very much, so I must have done it right. But
Or you can call it rural street cross section, I guess.
rural
Because it
street.
may last
yeah.
for a really long time. that
And
way.
yeah, it might. I think that because we had Banning kind of look for something like that we could use, and what they had found were sections called, I think it was rural, something with an I, rural intermediary, something like that. But that's how I understood this, is why it was needed.
So this will be inserted into the,
The street
Street
standards,
standards.
yeah, it'll be figure 17 at the very end.
It's a starting point.
Yeah.
Questions, comments?
So you are going to add,
Oh, I can
The
add
legend.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
legend. Mm-hmm.
so you know, if you don't have storm sewer, there's no place for your subsurface drain to go, but it's probably a minor detail.
And defer to Scott Risky. 'cause
Yeah, I mean, it says to be all proposals submitted to town engineer, so that covers it.
Oh, okay. Cause I am happy to send him feedback on this. If that, I'm happy to do that. This is his wheelhouse, not mine.
Any questions, comments, Jen, Carol, Bob?
No, no.
Okay.
Lynn? After that? Yeah.
All right, we need to make a motion to approve the additions to the street standards, interim streets standards section detail.
I'll make a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve estimated streets, additions, interim street standards section detail. Second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
And I will
The
add a legend.
UDO.
Okay. Only 4 this month, guys. Okay, so the first one is what we had kind of discussed earlier, that our site plan development process right now says the administrator, which is Denise or myself, may refer the development, which is a site plan, to Plan Commission for review and approval for any reason. So last month, we added this specific language to the secondary plats as well, because it was only by administrator that it could come to you guys. So adding, or the PC may request to review and approve the site development plan. So again, that's just one of you or someone mentions it, or I think it's a good idea and I can bring it up and ask if you want to see it. So now you'd be able to do. Okay, all right. Next one, number 2. So we we went through and got all of our Airbnbs, Verbos in town registered. There was something in our UDO when it was adopted, and we built a kind of registration application and form and way to track people for all of the units that had already existed. So there, I think there's 7, maybe 8. So we went through and we sent registration forms to all these folks and let them know if they get another Airbnb, please call us so we can make sure they have the right zoning and that we get it registered and all of that. We periodically check the websites though, just to make sure something hasn't popped up. But it was brought to my attention, and it was a very good point, I think, that per our ordinance, signs are required to be posted on site that state that this property is legally registered Airbnb through the town of Pendleton. Now, what was brought to my attention is that this kind of sets that building out as a potential trap for burglars because they know someone's not there 24/7. It kind of takes away from the discretion we're attempting to utilize with those short-term rental units, where they're supposed to blend in. They're not supposed to really stick out like with a sign, whether it's in the yard or it's on the front door.
Does anybody have a sign?
Nobody does.
Yeah.
So
But-
they're all in violation.
No, they're grandfathered.
Oh.
They've been here longer than this UDO.
I was gonna say,
So,
I've
but
seen
for
some.
new units,
Yeah.
I don't think it's
That's
a
no.
good idea to require that.
Be discreet.
Yeah, you have a registry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what I wrote in here was that we have the registration that has the property information, a 24/7 accessible phone number. If they are not in state or nearby, we require a property agent or manager or someone who's accessible 24/7 if there's an emergency or the site floods and we need to help the people that, anything like that. And then I also called the police department and they've not had any calls for our existing registered Airbnbs this year, nothing at all. So I would like to remove the language about the signage.
Agreed.
Agree.
Right. Next, we do not have a definition for gas station, and I know that's pretty cut and dry, but I would like to add a definition or put something somewhere that states this bold paragraph here. We do have restrictions on outdoor storage, but I know with gas stations, the outdoor sales, the water tanks and things like that they sell, we don't really want that. At least I don't think so. So if you read that definition, let me know if you have any issues. I think it puts it together pretty well. The only thing you can have outside is gas and air. If you want to do, let's see, propane, things like that, you have to have it in an enclosed well, not enclosed, a screened area on the side or the rear of the building, instead of in those big cage things out front. Things like ice and vending should all be within the structure, in my opinion. And then also things like, some places sell soil or logs or things like that out in the parking lot of the gas station. I don't think that's appropriate either. So that's the definition I came up with, or I can add it somewhere else, like a use standard or something like that. But I thought the definition section was pretty.
What if it's a convenience store that doesn't sell fuel? Like I think there's a couple newer ones in Anderson where they've taken over and they just sell like convenience C-store items.
So then what
So
do you
there's
mean?
no
What?
fueling
So they're
costs.
not
So
a
this
gas
says,
station.
this says an establishment selling fuel for motor vehicles. So if you don't sell fuel, then you can do all those things.
But then I would imagine that would fall into a different use category than gas station and be defined differently. So
So we
like,
define convenience store?
well, small retail, and that doesn't include outdoor sales. You see what I mean? Like, I guess I'm trying to really make sure that there's not stuff sold in the parking lots of the gas station.
Yeah.
So if I have someone who's taken over and is not doing gas sales, I
It's-
imagine they'd fall into just small retail. And that doesn't allow for outdoor sales. That's a specific category we have, outdoor storage and sales.
But then that gets in a whole nother issue of, you still have to maintain.
The gas
Gas
tanks.
tanks and all
Yeah.
kinds of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what about an electric vehicles supercharger? Where do those fall in?
That's
Yeah,
a
we're gonna
new one.
start
I don't
seeing-
know.
We're gonna
Yeah,
start. seeing
instead of a
them.
gas, I mean, an
I-
establishment selling, I don't know. Is there some way to incorporate that in there?
So let's see, I think it's automobile service and gas station. So service, we could maybe add, fueling, gas or electric charging? Rapid charge? I don't know.
It's not gas, you
Well,
can
it
use
could be
fuel.
LP,
Yeah,
hydrogen,
fuel.
gas,
Vehicle.
diesel, electric.
So that's fueling a vehicle, whether by electricity or diesel or gas. So maybe we just change it to automobiles, or excuse me.
Well, you say an establishment selling fuel
Fuel.
for motor vehicle, so as long as electric is a fuel and an electric car is a motor vehicle, I guess it would be fine. It's
I would-
probably
I-
included.
I would think that it is. And it's still, even if it's not gas, it's service.
It's
Right.
energy.
Energy.
Gas is energy, electric.
I mean,
is
food
energy.
is fuel. Right? They're selling food.
And
Which-
with
no.
EVgo being at 210 and Electrify America being at 86th Street,
Mhm.
I mean, our proximity to 69 makes this is gonna be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want, I can add something about electric, or we can make a whole separate definition.
I mean, those are typically not like a gas station.
The charging stations.
Yeah, they're just freestanding chargers.
I guess they don't need like staff, really.
Do they,
Okay.
are they
Let me look
monitoring?
into
Do
that
they
and
have
kind
like
of see what we
active
can add.
monitoring or passive monitoring at those places?
Depends on where they are.
I have
Because
no
the car
idea.
could set for a long time. I don't either. I don't have that much
Yeah.
truck. And I've not had any site visits to any at this
Mm-mm.
point.
No, me
You know,
either.
you bring up a good point. We need to probably address lighting and security
Yeah,
for the EV charging
Yeah.
locations. I can tell you that on some of the eastern state EV charging locations on the south end of remote rest stops,
Uh-huh.
there are probably security issues with regards to people being parked there for prolonged periods of time at
Mhm.
dusk and at dark.
mhm,
Mhm.
So that is probably something we should expand
absolutely.
and cover.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, let me look into that and see what kind of amendments we could put in here, or maybe we get a new use that we can kind of look at.
We were approached already with the new community building about the
Mhm.
EV and
Oh, really? Okay.
chargers.
Yeah, that's gonna be here.
I mean, it is a revenue source for businesses, but it also creates concerns about safety, and they're heavily damaged. We have them at Community Hospital Anderson, and people run over the cords and rip the cords out and all that kind of stuff too all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
it's because they're not under 24/7,
Right.
but
Yeah, let me do some digging, see what I can find on it.
Hannah,
Yes,
I'm not sure you'll ever get all the freezers inside the building. Most stores, the ice freezers are all outside. They put off a lot of heat when they run,
yeah,
they leak. They have to be defrosted.
okay, could we
And
have
when they
anything
when
like
they
that
defrost them, they usually just unplug them, and
on the
dump the
side or
stuff
the rear
outside.
then? And
Yes.
not
I
on
think
the,
you'd be more apt to put them on the sides.
or the rear, and they have to have a screen?
They're not gonna put them on the rear, now your back porch not.
Some
Secure
just gonna
or-
take them.
What if you have a quadruple frontage lot?
Some of
And there is
some
no-
of the newer gas stations will
Put 'em in the
build
back.
like a
Yeah,
extension of the wall and you walk in behind.
yeah. So I mean, I think it'd be good to have them screened in some
Mhm.
way.
Not visible from the street.
Or like just, like an extension of a wall wing that just goes over it, or that's kind of similar material. Instead of just those cages. Well, that's all you see, but. Okay, well, I can add that, let's see. Propane, ice and vending. On side or rear of the building. Is that okay?
With
Sure.
with screening.
With screening,
And
yeah,
just build a wall around it.
yeah, Okay, ICER vending. We'll add that. Okay. Alrighty. And then, last thing I have is actually the gas stations themselves. So with our overlay, we've really, kind of narrowed, gas station rights to where they have to go through conditional use, in most areas of town now where that corridor overlay is. But we might have some outliers that are not within that. So I do think it's good to make those by conditional use only. I know a lot of gas stations like to basically kind of get on all four corners of an intersection, or be within a very close proximity to each other. So that might not necessarily be the character we want even outside of our corridor overlay. So I think it's good to look at those on a case by case basis. And as we also saw this evening with the primary plat of Preetha LLC, some properties we have in town, even though they are still just cornfields or not being used, are zoned for business. So a lot of times we don't have a lot of control like we do in a rezone to be able to know what's gonna go there. So kind of having that extra step for something like this where it might be permitted by right now just because of your zoning, but once you get, into a conditional use, we have a little bit more ability to judge whether or not it's a good spot for it. So really it would just be for those four zones, HB, GB, LI, and HI. We allow those by right. I do think we need gas stations in some places, but maybe we just go on a case by case because we don't need four on a corner.
I like that because we need to control the carbon footprints, and that's a big one. You
Yeah.
ever pull out those tanks and.
Right, and I'm sure, over here when this one went in, I know that there's been some concerns with that one before. I think it's all been remediated, but that's right in our downtown.
Yeah.
So
I mean, once that goes in, it takes a lot to ever convert
to get
it to
them out,
something else.
yeah.
Yeah, so the more control on those, the better.
And I don't know who the body is that kind of inspects those and makes sure they stay compliant or.
Right.
Weights
No,
and-
I do.
Is it IDEM?
Weights
Yep.
and measures
Yeah.
division.
And I didn't know if we were
IDEM.
kind of like allowed
IDEM
to
does all
ask
the
for
environmental
those
impact
reports
stuff.
just to have them on our file, like, okay, this has been inspected once a year, that it's not leaking, affecting anything around it, I don't know
There's
if we're
usually
allowed to have those.
They usually put the weights and measures stickers on
That's the pump dispensing.
just the pumps.
So anyway, that's why I thought that might be a good idea to change those, and then anywhere else it might be allowed is already by conditional use, so.
That's good
Just,
suggestion.
that's okay,
Yeah, with EPA oversight.
yeah. I just want to make sure we have, if we have concerns, we know who to call. Got anything on that one? We'll get on that one? Okay, all right, that's the only four that I have. So with short of the minor change in, the automobile service and gas station definition for the ice and vending, we'll look for a motion to approve the amendments as discussed.
Entertain a motion on the UDO amendments as noted on the gas station amendments and verbiage.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
thank you, Kyle. All those in favor of the UDO ordinance amendments and additions, please say aye. Those opposed? Thank you.
Great. And then I do have two site plans that are under review right now. One is for the concrete company on 700 next to Indy Boat Co. And then the other is for the BP station on the Colcarney property. Right there at the northeast corner. They're kind of in between our corridor overlay and our old UDO, so their site will utilize our existing UDO. And then their building will fall under that corridor overlay, so the architecture, and the requirements for non-franchise, things like that, and the extra ornamentation they'll have to do on the building, but the site it will be other. And the use, I guess, now too. But
And there's more amendments for next month, I see.
What?
In the folder.
They'll never go away.
One of the things I would like to reopen is the institutional category
Sure.
and looking at the utilities placement and screening. I think we kind of went
Okay.
through that last time, that based upon what I am currently seeing here in town, I think that we need to come back with some standards and guidelines.
And is there a particular utility you're talking about, like towers or lift stations or electric pad boxes or?
You know, the case in point is take a look at North Pendleton Avenue and the new electrical dispensers along the North Pendleton Avenue sidewalks that have been installed by the park. They are out, visible, no screening, probably very utilitarian, very functional, but not really adhering to any of the standards that we apply to any of the other classifications with regards to placement, screening, visibility, character, impact on things such as the gardens, the gazebo, the playgrounds, et
Okay.
cetera.
Yep, we'll take a look at that. Sure.
And back on those two site plans, I guess I'd like to have a look at both of those, just to,
I can send those out to you guys,
okay.
or do you want them to come to you?
Do you want it to the board
Board.
or email?
Do you have access to Drive?
Yeah.
We're migrating to OneDrive.
Oh, Office, yeah.
Office, yes, so it's much easier, so I can share it with you and then you can just download it from there, it's a
Okay.
lot easier.
Yeah.
It's just a link that I send you and then you have access.
I'm
to it.
thinking this, that VP property, since that's such high profile to bring to the
Yeah.
board.
I would agree. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the first one we're using the
That
overlay.
overlay for,
It's not. The
Well-
building will,
It-
okay,
the
building.
architecture, of the building.
But it's the first time we put that plan into play with anything, so I think kind of vetting it here would be a little more.
It would not use the overlay code because it's when they submitted. They use the code existing and when they submitted and got their application. So they would use our EEO code.
so okay, so what you're looking at now is just the site.
Yeah, just the site. I'm not, they haven't
Okay.
submitted building plans and they probably won't for a while.
Okay,
Now, those would go to the design review board, the architecture
Yeah.
plans of the building. But I mean, I can bring
Yeah.
the site to you, but we can't utilize that for it.
no, okay.
Line
Oh,
out the site,
Yeah,
You have to-
Yeah.
why don't you send it to me, then I can take a look.
Okay, yeah, I'll send that to you.
That'd be fine.
They're still, we have a lot of edits to do.
Okay.
So. Use your pen. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from anybody? Lynn? Mr. Gardner? Doc? Anybody online, so? Meeting adjourned.